closed-door meetings that happened that led to at least a pause in a potential World War III style situation. That, of course, is when Israel was meeting with our administration and saying, hey, we want your help to go to war with Iran. And at least our team, including our friends Tulsi Gabbard and some of the others, pushed back and said, you know what? This is not the right time necessarily. Look, not saying it won't be the right time. At some point, we know that that is not off the table. A war with Iran is not off the table. But first, let's jump in and see if we can get this done without any more bloodshed.
This comes out of the New York Times, and it reports that Israeli officials had developed plans to attack Iranian nuclear sites. Their goal was to at least set back Tehran's development by a year or more. They originally had a plan for November, which would have been much more aggressive, would have had Israeli commandos going into the sites and actually sabotaging and destroying the sites. But that would have required mostly American air cover and bombing campaigns while they were doing this. But then they, at the behest of the prime minister, who wanted this done much earlier in the month of May, came up with other plans. And these plans would have been mostly bombing campaigns, but it would have required substantial American assistance, not just support in the sign-off phase, or even if you're attacked, we can help. This would have required active participation of the U.S. military. The Israelis were at first thinking that they could get there. They could get the Americans to sign off on this. You remember that meeting in the White House that was about the tariffs when Prime Minister Netanyahu came to America right after the Liberation Day announcement to have this first meeting with President Trump? The optics of it was for the tariffs. The reality of it, we're learning, was for discussions about this, high-level discussions between the prime minister and the president and the teams with them about this attack.
I am happy with an administration that's willing to have these conversations with a country like Israel that we obviously are very supportive of, but say, you know what? We appreciate your thoughts, your plans, but first, let's see if we can avoid more bloodshed. And I think that is very important. I think that's important as America moving forward, that we aren't always just jumping into a war that we have to support or not, whether we support the war with Iran or not. It may be something that we say as an American people, you know what? Enough is enough. But let's not start there. That doesn't have to be day one. Let's get to the negotiation table. Same with like what happened with Russia and Ukraine. We picked a side really quick and decided we were going to support them with equipment and money and funding. And look, I think we all know how that's going and how the American people have soured on a lot of what we've done there. We know that's what happened in Iraq, where eventually people kind of soured on what we were doing there. So the American people, though they are happy to immediately respond because we have those kind of hearts that want to jump out and help, I do think it's good that you have a president who's willing to take a breath, listen to those advisors around him, and realize he put together a team that people voted for, and that team is not a warmonger team.
As much as the left wants you to think that President Trump is trigger happy, just wanting to press that button to send missiles at our enemies, he was listening to counsel from his advisors. And specifically, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, brought to the table new intelligence that, with an assessment that the buildup of American weaponry could potentially spark a wider conflict with Iran, which the U.S. doesn't want. And Ms. Gabbard, as reported, along with Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, the defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who has been very vocally saying we will not hesitate to use a military option against Iran, and J.D. Vance all voiced their doubts about the attack, which ultimately the president chose we are going to continue. We are going to do tough negotiations, and we're going to see if we can get something out of that.
I've been in the Oval Office enough to know that if everyone does agree on something, Donald Trump is the first one to make sure that we actually have a debate, because he wants to hear both sides. He wants to hear all sides. That is a healthy system. I think people should feel very good that when Donald Trump is in the Oval Office, he's getting a diverse set of views, and then he makes the decision.
The Israelis have, to some degree, a different calculus and different prerogative than we have here in the United States, is that they are very close. They are seeing attacks by the Iranians and Iranian proxies nonstop. So for them, they may feel as if military option is the only option at this time. I think it also shows that this administration is trusted by the Israelis more than the previous administration. I don't know that they necessarily would have waited around for the go-ahead from the Biden administration, knowing how tepid the response and help had been through that administration. So there is much better goodwill between the American administration and the Israelis now. I know that clearly they would like to strike and put an end to that altogether. I also understand the caution and the cooler heads that prevailed within the administration, at least from a strike that would be taking place next month in May. We are less than 2 weeks from May, and that is very early in administration, especially when the president believes maybe he can. We don't know if he will be able to get to a deal, but negotiating, trying to figure something else out instead of just a few months into his administration, conducting and participating in a military campaign that could spark, when you already have the campaign going on between Russia and Ukraine, a much broader conflict in the Middle East, and knowing that the Chinese, the Russians, their relationship with Iran, it could literally have sparked World War III at a global scale very quickly. There's always been talk that we're on the doorstep of a World War III with what has been happening in the Middle East and with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It would be something like that that could take it to the next level, to a true global conflict, a real hot war in that sense.
You probably will not realize you're in World War III until you're in World War III. Right. It won't be something that's like we wake up and we go, hey, today we're starting World War III. It is these moments that escalate and all of a sudden kind of explode.
I'm not a war hawk, but if there was ever going to be a time where we're going to do something, this might be the time. The Chinese economy is very bad and they have their own issues, and the Russians certainly can't provide weaponry or money to the Iranians to help them out. So if there was going to be a time where we wanted to impede their nuclear program, this is probably it.
That is a big argument from the Israelis as well. They have decimated Hezbollah, and the opportunity for attacks from Gaza are not as active right now. Obviously, it's still conflict, but just the multi-front war that Israel's had since October 7th, and now even with the bombing campaign from the U.S. on the Houthis, it has really taken out a lot of the Iranian proxies. The Assad regime fell. So Iran is very isolated from its traditional proxy partners. Russia, as you mentioned, having their own war going on, and China with the economy. But also remember, President Trump did give kind of a date that Iran has to get this all done by. It's not just this open-ended 4 years, keep going. I don't think that necessarily the trade war and the economic issues China has are going to be wrapped up anytime soon, as the way it looks, the war with Ukraine necessarily ending before that window closes. So I don't think that it is a forever putting this off.